My name is Kevin Brady. I'm the International Trade Specialist at the SBDC at Florida Gulf Coast University. Today we're going to speak about the trade investment. Some of the critical components involved with international trade investment include management commitment, which we see as the most important aspect of going into global business. Secondly, we also look at resources. How is an organization going to allocate their personnel, their time, and their money? Also, organizations need to have an in-depth knowledge of their product to see how it translates into international markets. Lastly, companies need to understand their capacity and capability to produce their products and provide service for those products in international markets. One term we use in international business is landed cost. Your landed costs include your purchase price, your insurance, your freight, any customs or any other duties and taxes involved with international trade. Landed costs can include your purchase price, insurance, freight, customs, and other relevant taxes that may be involved with making an international transaction. These costs are very, very critical in an organization determining whether or not their product can be sold in the foreign market. Some of these costs involve the movement of the product coming out of the factory, transportation costs associated with moving the product to that marketplace. You also have customs and duties of getting that product inside of the country. Incoterms, or international commercial terms, are used frequently involving the transfer of goods from a seller to a buyer overseas. These are short acronyms that best describe the task, the cost, and the risk of a transaction. As you can see by this chart, there are several different terms that are commonly used. We're going to go through three of the most commonly used terms to explain how this relates to buyers and sellers' risk within a transaction. Ex works is one of the most commonly used in a transaction. It is typically associated with sellers supplying goods at their warehouse to a buyer overseas. Once those goods are picked up at the door of the warehouse, the responsibility is on the buyer to transport those goods and move them directly all the way into their marketplace. Free on board transactions are one of the most frequently used Incoterms in international commerce. In a free on board transaction, the seller makes the goods available at the port named within the contract. At that point, the buyer will take responsibility and risk of moving those goods into their own marketplace. Another Incoterm that is frequently used is CIF, cost, insurance, and freight. This transaction involves the seller of the goods making those goods available at the port designated within the contract. It also indicates a level of responsibility for the seller as to moving these goods, insuring them, and getting them across to the country of destination. As U.S. organizations look to work overseas, it's very important for them to consider the concerns of their buyers. Most importantly, landed costs. These are all the additional costs that may incur that may make the product unsellable within their marketplace. Secondly, you have security. How are those goods going to move into the country? How are they going to get into our warehouse? A third consideration would be payment terms. How will the goods be paid for? Will this be a letter of credit, open account, or prepayment? Another critical component for foreign buyers is the return and repair policies of the U.S. manufacturer. Lastly, it's imperative for U.S. organizations to define their policies, terms, and conditions.